Are you publishing wide but shallow? It's a mistake that could be costing you readers and revenue. Hi, I'm Mark Leslie Lefebvre from Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing, and I'd like to talk a little bit about something that I've been seeing in the author community that I call publishing wide but shallow. Now, I've been talking to writers about publishing for well over a decade now. I've written books about it, I've spoken about it at conferences around the world, and I've spent years inside both the Kobo and draft to digital operations watching how it all works from the inside. Now, before I keep going, for anyone who is not familiar with the term publishing wide, it's seen as the alternative to publishing one's ebooks exclusively to Amazon via KDP Select. The promise of being exclusive to Amazon is what allows a self-published book to be in Amazon's KU, Kindle Unlimited reading program. And I'm seeing authors making the same mistakes. Authors hear the message about not putting all their eggs in one basket. They nod along with the logic. They agree that relying on a single platform for their entire livelihood is risky. So they make the decision to go wide. Then they upload their books to Apple Books, Kobo, Nook, Google Play, and a handful of other platforms, either direct or through a distributor. And they stop there. They've gone wide, technically, but they've gone wide the way someone might learn French by downloading Duolingo and never opening it. I call this publishing wide but shallow. And it might be one of the most common and costly mistakes in indie publishing today. What does wide but shallow look like? Here's a scenario I see play out constantly in author forums and Facebook groups. An author decides to leave KDP Select or at least dip a toe into the wider marketplace. They set up distribution to multiple platforms. Maybe they go direct to a couple of storefronts and use a distributor like Draft to Digital or Publish Drive for the rest. Their books are now technically available to readers on Kobo, Apple, Google, Smashwords in most countries around the world, as well as on Nook in the United States of America, and also through various library wholesalers worldwide. And then they do something that perplexes me. They continue to do everything the same way they've always done it. Their website features nothing but Amazon links. Their social media posts drive readers exclusively to Kindle. Their newsletter promotions point to a single storefront. You guessed it, Amazon. Their ad spend goes entirely into Amazon marketing services. Their ARC team reviews only on Amazon. Their newsletter swap partners are all KDP Select exclusive authors. Then a few months later, they pop into a wide focus group like Wide for the Win and say something along the lines of, well, I went wide 6 months ago and I'm barely selling anything on the other platforms. Wide doesn't work. Wide isn't what's failing them. What's failing them is that they never actually tried it. The biggest challenge is that what it comes down to is that it's a mindset problem. You see, publishing wide is not merely a logistical exercise. It's not a box you tick by distributing your ebook to multiple retailers. It's a complete mindset and behavioral shift in how you think about your publishing business. If you've spent months or years learning how to succeed on a single platform, studying its algorithms, mastering its advertising tools, understanding how its recommendation engine works, you've built up a deep intuitive understanding of that ecosystem. That knowledge is valuable, and nobody is asking you to throw it away. But you also need to recognize that none of those platform-specific skills automatically transfer to other retailers. Each storefront operates differently. Each one has its own culture, its own customers, and its own internal logic for how books get discovered and sold. The shift from exclusive to wide isn't just about where your books are listed. It's about where your attention goes. It's about where your marketing dollars go and how they flow. It's about how you talk about your books and which readers you're speaking to. If you put your books on 5 platforms but still direct 99% of your energy towards one of them, you haven't gone wide. Or you've gone wide in name only. Or, to put it another way, you've gone wide but shallow rather than wide and deep. This comes down to a side effect that I call the Amazon-centric blind spot. One of the most insidious habits that carries over from an exclusive mindset is treating Amazon like the default, the center of gravity around which everything else orbits. Consider what happens when a merchandiser at Kobo or an editorial team member at Apple Books or someone from the Nook team comes across your author website or your social media. What do they see? If every link goes to Amazon, if every call to action asks for Amazon reviews, if your entire online presence screams loyalty to a competitor, how do you think those other platforms are going to feel about promoting you and your books? And here's the thing that many authors don't realize. They are paying attention. The wide retailers, particularly the ones with human merchandising teams, actively look at author behavior. They look at your website, they look at your social media posts. They notice when you're inclusive and when you're not. Like Santa Claus, they know when you are sleeping on the wide publishing job and they know when you're wide awake. Sorry, I couldn't resist that play on words. Now, this doesn't mean that they're going to blacklist you for having Amazon links. They understand the marketplace reality. Amazon is the world's largest ebook retailer, even if it's not in as many countries as all of its major competitors, except for Nook. But if two books of comparable quality land on a merchandiser's desk, and one author is clearly invested in their platform while the other treats it as an afterthought, which book do you think gets the featured spot? It's important for authors to not only understand how the wide platforms actually work, but why that understanding matters. This is perhaps the single biggest area where wide but shallow authors fall short. They've invested hours, sometimes years, learning how Amazon operates. But they haven't even spent 15 minutes understanding how the other major retailers function. And the differences are significant. Amazon operates in a predominantly algorithmic environment. Visibility is largely driven by complex, ever-changing calculations that factor in sales velocity, conversion rates, advertising spend, and a constellation of other data points that Amazon never fully discloses. Heck, they barely disclose anything. It's experts in the industry who've built their entire systems on trying to interpret and reinterpret Amazon's algorithm. An entire industry of consultants and software companies exists to help authors decode and game those algorithms. And the tools they sell need constant reinvention because Amazon keeps changing the rules. I sometimes describe Amazon as a place where the inmates run the asylum because the system is so algorithm driven that it's often those with the deepest pockets and the ones who are paying for various services that constantly analyze and interrupt the shifting sands of the ever-changing algorithms at Amazon who end up ruling to the top of the bestseller charts there. And yes, though the other retailers do rely on algorithms, they also operate differently. Kobo, Apple Books, and Nook all evolved from or were modeled after traditional bookselling environments. They employ human merchandisers, actual people whose job is to curate what readers see when they visit the store. Think of them as the digital equivalent of the buyer at a bookshop chain, who decides which books go on the front table, which books get prime shelf placement, and which new releases get a spotlight in the front store window. At Kobo, for example, the front page and dozens of additional landing pages are managed by a team of merchandisers. Each feature page is a combination of manually placed titles and dynamically generated lists sorted by sales performance within curated categories. These merchandisers plan their promotions weeks and even months in advance, just like their counterparts in physical retail. They have seasonal calendars, themed features, and targeted email campaigns, all decided by real human beings who love books and care about connecting readers with great stories. Apple's editorial team operates with similar care, curating feature spots and collections with a deliberate, design conscious approach that reflects the company's broader brand values. Even at platforms where algorithms play a larger role, like Google Play, there are human elements at work alongside the automated systems. The implication for authors is enormous. You cannot approach these platforms with an algorithm gaming mindset. The strategies that might move the needle at Amazon, keyword stuffing, rapid release scheduling designed to exploit the 30-day cliff, obsessive manipulation of categories, are all largely irrelevant when a human being is the one deciding whether your book gets featured. What matters to a merchandiser is much more fundamental. So, what is it that catches a merchandiser's eye? When a merchandiser at Kobo or Apple Books, for example, is scanning through thousands of titles to decide which ones deserve a coveted feature spot, they're making split-second judgments based on a few core elements. And the good news is that if you've been around the block for any stretch of time, these are the things you likely already know. But it's worth repeating here. A professional, genre-appropriate cover. I know this sounds obvious, but it's definitely something that bears repeating. Your cover needs to look like it belongs next to the top-selling traditionally published and self-published titles in its genre. It needs to work at thumbnail size, and it needs to be appropriate for the specific market. And a cover that resonates in the US might not land the same way in Australia or Germany. Clean, compelling metadata. Your series, title information, and book description need to be clear, error-free, and targeted to your audience. Merchandisers are looking at this the way a bookstore buyer would flip through a publisher's catalog. Typos, vague descriptions, or amateurish sales copy will get you passed over in a heartbeat. Sensible, optimized pricing. This is one that trips up many authors, especially those coming from the Amazon ecosystem, where aggressive discounting has become the default. On platforms like Kobo, for example, readers haven't been conditioned to only shop the bargain bins. They're willing to pay fair prices for quality books. Merchandisers also have revenue targets. When they're choosing between two comparable books for a single feature spot, simple math comes into play. A book priced at $9.99 earns the retailer $3 per sale. And that's a much more attractive proposition for a revenue-focused merchandiser than a book priced at 99 cents that leaves them anywhere between 54 to 70 cents. See how a single sale of a single title can mean two different dollar values for the merchandiser? That can affect their decision. And here's a critical detail many authors overlook. Global price optimization matters. If you're selling on Kobo, Apple Books, Google Play, and you haven't bothered to set appropriate prices in Australian dollars, Canadian dollars, euros, and British pounds, a merchandiser in those territories is going to pass right over you. They won't give you a second thought. Why would they feature a book whose pricing signals that the author doesn't care about their market? Now, in the interest of providing you with a few concrete tips for going truly wide, because you've been publishing wide but shallow, here's how to start going deeper. Use universal book links everywhere. Tools like Books to Read, which is free, powered by Draft to Digital, or similar tools from BookLinker and BookFunnel let you create a single link that routes readers to your book on whichever platform is most appropriate for them, with geo-targeting to send them to the correct regional version of each store. Replace every Amazon-only link on your website, in your email signature, in your social media bios, and in the back matter of your books. This is one of the easiest and most impactful changes you can make. By the way, even if you are exclusive to Amazon, a universal book link that has geo-targeting means that you don't have to manage 8 different Amazon links for each of the various stores in different countries. Audit your entire online presence for inclusivity. Go through your author website, your social media profiles, your newsletter templates, and the back matter of every one of your books. Are you linking only to Amazon? Are you only asking for Amazon reviews? Every time you do that, you're telling readers on other platforms that they don't matter. And you're signaling to those platforms that you're not invested in them. Shop the other storefronts yourself. Go to Kobo.com. Browse the Apple Books app. Visit Nook. Try to find a book to read on that platform, one that you're actually interested in. Browse as a customer. Pay attention to how each store is laid out, how their search works, how books are categorized and featured. You'll be amazed at how different the experience is from platform to platform. And that understanding will fundamentally change how you think about marketing your own books there. Optimize your pricing globally. Don't just set a US dollar price and let the platforms auto convert. Take the time to manually set prices in the major currencies: Australian dollars, Canadian dollars, euros, pound sterling, New Zealand dollars, and US dollars at minimum. Make sure those prices look right for each market, not just some awkward conversion that ends up at $7.43 when $6.99 would look far more intentional. Here's a handy time-saving tip. Draft to Digital has built-in currency conversion and price rounding, so they'll generate automatically cleaned up global pricing for you. Starting off with seeing how D2D converts your pricing can allow you to input those same prices at the retailers where you're publishing direct. Embrace pre-orders strategically. On platforms like Kobo, pre-orders carry extra weight that I like to think of as a magic sword in D&D that offers you a 2 times bonus on whatever you roll. Kobo applies a bonus multiplier to the ranking boost you get from each pre-order, essentially treating each one as worth double a regular sale. Apple Books does a similar thing. The book gets a ranking boost the day that the order is placed, that pre-order, but it also gets a bit of a boost on the release date. So it gets that boost at 2 different times. Now, pre-orders also signal to merchandisers at these retailers that readers are already invested in your book, which makes it more likely to catch their attention during the planning stages of upcoming promotions. And I know for a fact that there are folks working behind the scenes at Draft to Digital who draw pre-order reports from across all platforms and compile them into insights that they share every month with their retail and library partners to help them spotlight forthcoming titles that are worthy of extra attention. Submit to retailer-specific promotional opportunities. Kobo Writing Life has a secret promotions tab that you have to manually request in order to get it. And they will give it to anyone who asks, as long as you're not a jerk. And it's where you can submit your books for consideration for feature placement. Apple has editorial submission opportunities that most authors can get via Draft to Digital or Publish Drive. When you're direct with Apple, it's a case of don't call us, we'll call you. Nook's B&N Press offers a secondary hidden marketing tab that you have to ask for promotions to authors who publish direct with them. But they don't just give it out to anyone, but you still should ask for it. Now, these opportunities exist, but you have to seek them out and use them. Nobody is going to do it for you. Follow the retailers and their teams on social media. Tag them when you share links to your books. When your book is ranking on their platform, oh, do you pay attention to the other platforms so you can see if your book is ranking there? But if your book is ranking on their platform, share a screenshot and publicly acknowledge your excitement and gratitude to readers on that platform. If they offer you a promotional opportunity, promote it hard and let them know you're promoting it. Learn more about them by going to their presentations at various conferences or listening to and commenting on their podcasts and online interviews. A little bit of acknowledgement and enthusiasm goes a remarkably long way with the people behind those platforms. Diversify your ad spend beyond Amazon. Facebook ads and BookBub ads can drive traffic to any storefront, not just Amazon. Consider running campaigns that point to your own website, to universal book links, or directly to specific wide retailers. If you're spending your entire advertising budget on Amazon marketing services, you've actively chosen to grow only one revenue stream. Build an ARC team that reviews across platforms. Readers on Kobo, Apple Books, Nook, and Google Play need social proof just as much as Amazon shoppers do. When you recruit advanced reader copy readers, ARC readers, ask them to review on at least 2 platforms, any 2 that they choose. Setting up accounts on non-Amazon storefronts is free, and most don't have Amazon's minimum purchase requirements before leaving reviews. Stop cross-promoting exclusively with KDP Select authors in your newsletters. When you promote an exclusive author's book to your readers, you're directing your wide readers to Amazon, essentially telling them yet again that their preferred platform doesn't matter. Be intentional about who you cross-promote with. Seek out other wide authors for newsletter swaps. The one last bit of advice I want to share here is a critically important one, and something I've been passionate about for a long time. And it's the importance of playing the long game. Going truly wide requires patience. Sales on non-Amazon platforms tend to build more slowly, but they also tend to be more stable. You won't see the dramatic spikes and crashes that characterize the Amazon ecosystem. Instead, you see a slower, steadier accumulation that can compound over time. And unlike Amazon, where the game changes every time they adjust an algorithm, the fundamentals of success on the wide platforms are remarkably consistent. A great cover, clean metadata, fair pricing, and genuine engagement with each platform's unique culture have been the keys to wide success for years. And they'll likely remain that way for years to come. Publishing wide but shallow is like joining a gym, paying for the membership, and never actually showing up to work out. You've invested in the potential for better results, but you haven't done the work to realize them. The retailers beyond Amazon genuinely want to help authors succeed. They have teams of passionate, book-loving people whose entire job is to connect great books with eager readers. But they can only help the authors who are willing to first help themselves. So ask yourself this: have you actually gone wide? Or have you just made your books available in more places while continuing to behave as if only one platform exists? Because your goal isn't just to publish wide, it's to sell wide. And there's a world of difference between the two.